So to begin with, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Varuni Mahajan. I'm a research operations and UX insights manager at Poocho. I have some experiences in the fields of sociology, anthropology, and media. And for today's webinar, we'll be discussing shopper research. By the end of the session, hopefully you will come away with a clearer and better understanding of what shopper research is and how to get the most value out of any such study that you plan on running. I am now going to switch off my camera in order to save on bandwidth, but stick with me and we're going to dive right in. Yeah. As I mentioned before, our theme for today is, sorry, just give me 1 second. So, our theme for today is quote, you can't do shopper research online and other things we proved wrong. End quote. We're going to talk about how observing real user behavior is something that can be done online and doesn't require a complex research design with unending logistics to manage and with boots on the ground. What is shopper research? As you can see, shopper research is the study of consumer behavior at and around the point of purchase, how people navigate a store, evaluate options on shelf, respond to pricing and packaging, and make the final decision to buy or walk away. The purpose of this kind of research is to bridge the gap between stated purchase intent and actual in-store behavior. So brands can design better packaging, planograms, promotions, and retail experiences. At its core, shopper research is observing why, where, and how real consumers make purchasing decisions. By observing this in real time, you get a proper glimpse into what your consumers say they do versus what they actually end up doing. As product teams or marketers, we can use this method to analyze behavior in both online and offline retail environments and optimize product placement, streamline the customer journey, and tailor different marketing strategies to increase sales. The goal here isn't to validate that everything works perfectly. It's actually to uncover where improvements are needed so you can make better decisions moving forward. When we run shopper research, we're not just asking people whether they like something and what their buying journey actually looks like. We're looking for very specific desired outcomes that tell us how well the experience works or doesn't work. So the first is task success. Can consumers complete what they came to do? Whether that's getting to the store, locating the product, making the purchase, completion here is the baseline. Then we look at efficiency. How quickly and smoothly they're able to complete that task. Are there unnecessary steps slowing them down? Next is clarity. Do people understand what they're seeing and are they taking the appropriate actions? Are they able to see, for example, pricing or other important information clearly? We also pay very close attention to errors and friction. This is where people get stuck, make mistakes, or feel confused. These moments are incredibly valuable because they show us exactly what needs improvement. And finally comes confidence and satisfaction. Do consumers feel comfortable using the product? Do they trust what they're doing? And would they want to come back to it? Together, these outcomes give us a clear picture of whether an experience is working and, more importantly, what we need to fix next. So, what does shopper research actually look like in the real world? I'm going to walk you through a few scenarios where teams commonly use this method. First is shelf and planograms testing. For example, testing which products consumers pick in a given aisle or shelf of a general store, which one gets noticed first and which one gets picked first and why. Then we also have packaging and claims evaluation. So this would include observing if packaging clearly communicates what it's meant to in real retail environments. In-store navigation and signage. This is where observing consumers navigate stores and what information is helpful, not helpful to them is what you observe in this example. Then comes promotion and price responses. Here, shop alongs allow you to observe consumers responding to pricing, promotions in real time, and not just in survey responses. Across all these examples, the goal is the same. So we watch real people interact with stores, products, pricing, packaging, identify friction points, and use that evidence to make smarter decisions. So now that we've looked at where shopper research shows up, let's talk about the different types of shopper research methods you can employ. First comes pure observation. This one is fairly straightforward and includes asking consumers to think aloud as they're going about their shopping. Another type of shopper research is interception. This is going to stores and intercepting real consumers as they're going about their shopping, and this may offer the most raw and honest feedback possible. Another such type is called task based. As the name suggests, consumers are assigned specific tasks to complete. These different ways of going about shopper research make it pretty evident that in some ways the possibilities are endless with this particular methodology, especially when you do it online. Now that I've taken you through the different types of shopper research, which you can do both online and offline, let me take you through some of the potential drawbacks of conducting this kind of research offline, which is how it's mostly traditionally been done so far. So, first of all, logistics are an operational load. Managing field teams across different locations, gathering permissions, can become very, very time consuming. Recruitment is also tedious. This is especially true for the quote interception end quote type of shopper research. Finding and screening potential participants becomes difficult when you're in the field, as you can't qualify or pre qualify them. Keeping a record of the experience is also harder. So, documenting findings offline and on the go is harder to do, and delays in getting information and insights to relevant stakeholders becomes difficult as well. It is also harder to moderate. It is also harder to moderate these types of sessions. Multiple moderators may be needed across different locations, different cities, which in turn increases research costs, for example. And if one moderator is running most, if not all, the sessions, then they can compare insights gathered across different participants as well, right? Scale is also an issue. So, scaling this type of research is also cumbersome and becomes a very costly affair potentially. These are some of the potential drawbacks and disadvantages of running shopper research offline. So the question becomes, what are some of the benefits of running this online? Doing this type of research online allows the store to come into the research, to come to the forefront of the research. Context is everything, yeah? And context also stays authentic in this case. Interviews happen online and they are recorded, and the operational burden is it disappears more or less, or it is at the very least limited compared to doing this offline. I'd like to now take you through how to run shopper research effectively. Think of this as your toolkit, what to get right before and during your study. As part of your research design, you will have to set up a screener that asks the right questions. So this would include asking participants to share receipts or selfies or even short videos of them at the relevant store. This helps you determine between who is a genuine shopper and who is not. Participant incentive needs to be selected, keeping in mind all the tasks and efforts the participants will go through before and during the study. So you have to design your incentive to motivate that extra effort required. Study invites mention that participants will have to be physically present in the store. This is also something to keep in mind. And do remember that since participants will join using their phones, they can also flip their cameras. This leads to a more immersive experience for all involved. And as I mentioned before, all sessions are recorded, yeah? The slide you can probably see on your device now is it essentially puts both the two approaches side by side. That is the traditional quote intercept approach versus the online approach. And you can see for yourself which works best for you and why. In both approaches, the core research question doesn't change, but everything around the experience does, right? With the traditional intercept method, you're working with whoever walks in that day. There's limited stakeholder access, and variable quality is a factor to keep in mind when you're doing this type of research on the ground. The online approach gives you screened participants, recorded sessions, and the ability to go back to the same shopper over time at a lower cost. Now that we've kind of discussed what shopper research looks like online and offline, the benefits and the drawbacks of both, I want to now walk you through an example of how you can set up and run a study using this online approach in particular. So let's take the example of a biscuit brand. Suppose this brand is looking to understand what the competitive landscape looks like of the biscuit industry. In this case, I will show you how I am able to run this study on Poocho end to end. For this brand, in order to revamp their product, they want to speak with participants who are regular biscuit eaters and regular shoppers at their local kirana or general stores, who are specifically between the ages of 18 to 35 and live in tier 1 cities across India. So in order to do that, I will just stop sharing my screen. Take you through what a draft study looks like on the Poocho platform. So in the interest of time, I have already created a draft study and pre-populated some of this information that I would need to run such a study. And there are 5 steps to get through before you can launch your study. So the first step includes find participants. We have a wide variety of filters to build out a diverse panel or sample for your usability test, as you can see here to my left. In fact, I've already saved and selected a set of filters, and these include participants between the ages of 18 to 35 who are also based in tier 1 cities. I can add this information from here. I'm also gender agnostic for this particular study, so I've left this information out. A quick note on the way our filters work. If you apply no filters, we will get to see all participants. Once you select an option, only participants who match that selection will appear. The TG for this study is fairly broad. I have kept the filters annual household income, and there is the work and occupation section. I've also left these empty. Like I said, the TG for the study is fairly broad. And since the study is on biscuit consumption habits, I'm also interested in speaking with participants who have a diet, as you can see here, that can be classified as fair to good. And I've added this filter in the health section. And as you can see, some 3,843 participants match my criteria. So we can move on to the next step, which is build your screener. Right. So this is where I have already built out my screener. I have added some questions that I want participants to answer before I start scheduling sessions with them. There are many different question types to choose from, as you can see here to my left. The one that I find particularly useful is to add the multiple file upload question, which is here. And for this study, I have already added this question and pre-populated with a question title, where I'm asking participants to share invoices from when they went shopping for biscuits at their local kirana stores last. Once you've built out your screener, I move on to the add study details. As you can see, there are multiple fields to fill out here as well. To start with, there is the internal title. This is the title that only my team and I can view. I keep this simple. Public title, this is the study title as it appears to invited participants. And the about or study description section, this is the section I use to tell participants what my study entails. This is the section that I would have to keep as extra catchy and fun to attract as many applications as possible. You want as many participants to respond and apply to your study. There's also the desired sessions for this study field in particular. This is where I can lay out, say, I want to speak to 10 participants, right? And as the info tip here suggests, it helps keep track progress and fill any open session slots. Then comes the screen sharing checkbox here. This is an important step for me and for this study in particular. I want participants to join using their phone for the best experience possible on both ends. So I check this box and select mobile phone as the device. The note to participants section, this section shows up for participants who I've scheduled a session with. These are things that I'd want them to keep in mind when joining the session. Yeah. And then we have the participant incentive here. Important to kind of keep your TG in mind for the study that you're running. And 100% of this goes to our participants. Cover photo, it can also be viewed by the participants. So I've kept it simple by just adding some biscuits here. Okay, moving on to the next step, which is manage your calendar. I can set up my study timeline from here, put in dates that work according to my schedule. I also get to pick the session duration here. While we offer different types of session durations, as you can see here, in order to conduct an IDI with the purpose of running a shopper research study in specific retail environments, I think 60 minutes should be plenty. It also depends on the number of tasks I want them to get through. And here I can also put down my working hours. This helps participants select time slots according to my availability, as they have visibility into it as well. Yeah, I will just the required field. So I think this is as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Give me a second. Just say for the sake of this, I am available from 10 a.m. till 11 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and save and continue. Then comes the fifth and final step, which is send invites. I can review all of the basic details as well as the timeline of my study here. And once you're at this step, I can also invite other team members to my study. And this is especially helpful because you may be working with other moderators, researchers, or other relevant stakeholders on your team, and they can view these sessions as well if they are added to your study from here. Now, let me walk you through what a live study looks like on the platform. Okay. Once I've launched my study and sent out invites, I will be redirected to my live study dashboard, which essentially looks like this. This is your dashboard. The ongoing tab in particular is important and relevant for me right now. This tab allows me to view all the participants who have applied to my study, that is, filled out the screener and given their availability. Let's have a look at Shrishti's application. Look at her screener responses here. I can also view the photo that she's uploaded, of the invoice. I can also look at her availability here. And as you can see, if I do think that Shrishti is a suitable candidate, I can go ahead and schedule a session with her. I already have a session scheduled with Chinmay, as I thought she was a suitable candidate. So yeah, and I can view my session details with her here as well. There is a guest meeting link that you can also copy and share with relevant stakeholders. And for the purpose of this webinar, we had actually wanted to run a short live session of this type of shop along study with Chinmay, because I did schedule a session with her. But in the interest of time, we actually decided that we would run a mock session in advance with my other colleague, Nimisha, which we also recorded. So she joined the session as a participant and I joined as the researcher. I am just going to now share that video with you guys.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, Nimisha. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join me today. I can see that you're probably outside your local Kirana shop. So,
I am, yes.
so should we, awesome. So should we just get started then?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. My first question to you is this: how often do you come here, and is this your go-to spot for biscuits?
So this is our go-to spot for most household ka stuff. So yes, biscuits, yes, included. So this place is called Bazaar. So it gives you all sorts of gharelu stuff, like we'd say. So we usually come here like once or twice a month, and we do all our shopping in bulk.
Okay, all right. So you basically just kind of buy anything and everything that you need for your household, groceries and things like that. Once or twice a month, you come with your family
Yes.
and kind of do that kind of shopping. Okay, all right. And can you tell me about the last time you bought biscuits here and what did you end up getting?
So the last time I came here, we have some regular biscuits that we always buy, which is something like Oreo, which my brother really loves, and I really like Parle G. So we got those, and I had seen this new brand that had sugar-free Marie biscuits. So, I really like making cheesecakes, so I thought I would pick that up and try making cheesecakes with that.
Okay, all right. You make the base, right? Using the
Yes,
biscuits. Yeah, okay.
yes.
Nice. Awesome, cool. So, for the next part of this session, Nimisha, I wanted to ask you if you could take me through the store and specifically the biscuit section. And while you're
Mhm.
in there, if you can just, think out loud as you browse, like any and every thought that kind of crosses your mind, if you could just say it out loud as you would maybe when you're shopping in your own mind, but out loud instead. So if you could just take me inside the store, yeah, we can start with that.
Sure, sure, sure.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, sorry about. Well,
No, no, don't worry about it. That's okay. These things happen.
okay. So I'm gonna go in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna pick up a basket because I'm gonna put my stuff in here.
So,
Okay. So this is, I guess, the biscuit section.
mm-hmm.
And here are the Oreos, which I usually get. I sometimes get something like a strawberry for, uh, you know, difference in taste. Otherwise, we also get the normal Oreos that we usually get.
Right. And you picked the Oreos because I think you said that your brother really enjoys these, right?
Yes, yes. So, like
Okay.
a evening snack after coming back from college or the gym, he likes to have
Okay.
Oreos.
Got it.
Uh, yeah. Uh, I'm just gonna also pick up Parle-G here because, well, I'm a little confused because they have Parle-G Gold here, and I don't know what the difference is because
Okay.
I am used to the normal packaging.
Right.
So I don't know gold, what's gold about this. It looks like it looks the same, but
Right.
yeah,
But would you
I'm just
would
gonna.
you at this would you at this point maybe consider asking the shopkeeper, like if for the difference or just any questions that you have at this time?
Well, I am sort of an introvert, so I probably wouldn't ask. What I would do is I would just take like a small package and I would put it and I would try it and see if there's a difference in taste.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense.
So, yeah. And then I also see that there is something called oats and berries here, which is interesting to me because oats and berries are supposed to be healthy. So this looks interesting to me, but I'm just gonna take a look at the nutritional level label to see if
Yeah.
it's actually healthy. It's not. I can see sugar and refined palm oil are like very high on the list, but
Oh.
it does have 5% oats. Hmm. Yeah. So okay,
So,
maybe I could
okay,
try it.
since you- since you're considering picking this one up, I had a question, when you
Yeah.
are picking, what exactly do you think is driving your decision? Is it the brand? Is it the price? Is it the packaging? Is it the taste?
So it is, I would say it's a combination of things because I mean, Parle-G is a brand that I have grown up eating, so that's why I pick up Parle-G because I know the taste. But now that there is this shift towards, healthier eating and food farmers read the label padhega India. So I have been reading labels a lot more, and if it's a new brand and I see something that's healthy or a healthier version of
Yeah.
something, so I might just try it out and see if that's tasty as well. Then I might just make the switch from Parle-G because it's giving me the same taste, but at a healthier, like what you would say, payout.
Right, right. Okay, awesome. And are there any other biscuits that you plan on picking up today?
I'm just gonna take a look because I always like trying new things. Also, I look at this and it reminds me a little bit. Oh, sorry, I need to flip my
That's
camera.
okay.
So, so I saw this and it reminds me a little bit like the packaging reminds me a little bit of Tim Tams. I don't know if you know, but they are these Australian biscuits that are
Brilliant.
really
Yes,
famous.
yes, yeah.
They're not Tim Tams, but the packaging sort of reminds me of it, the graphic and the entire thing. So I might just, I'm gonna
Try
read the
them.
label, of course, and
Okay.
I'm gonna, I might just try this out. Yeah, it's not in the health department, it's not doing really well because it's sugar and palm oil. But yeah, if I had to try anything new, I'd probably pick this up.
Okay, awesome. And I can, based on the thoughts that you have shared so far, it does sound like healthy eating and just being a little more health conscious is something that's also on your list, right? Of things that you can
Yes.
kind of are prioritizing when you're considering what you're eating and what you're putting in your body. And your biscuit selection kind of makes the list as well. So,
100%, yes.
okay, awesome. I know you already answered this question for me, Nimisha, but I'm just going to kind of ask you again. Um, I know you said that you're an introvert and therefore you would much rather prefer to kind of just shop by yourself and not necessarily ask a shopkeeper. But is there any sort of scenario under which you would absolutely maybe, kind of ask them for their help?
The only scenario where I could see myself talking to a shopkeeper is if I know that I'm here for a particular thing and I'm not
Right.
able to find it. So I'll be like, भैया ये कहाँ रखा है या कहाँ चला गया? If I know that this is supposed to be here and I don't see it, so I'll just ask, has it stopped coming? Is it not here? Like that's what I would do. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so that was a short excerpt of what it looks like to run a full-fledged session and interview on the Poocho platform. And now that I've completed my session with Nimisha, I would also like to see where this session lives. So I am just going to show you guys how to locate that. Um, I can essentially go to the completed tab of my dashboard and look at my session with Nimisha here. I can access any session details that I need to, and I can also access the session recording from here by hitting the button download. Now that I've shown you how easy it is to essentially run, like I said, a session on Poocho, I also want to take you back to my original presentation once and walk you through some other things to keep in mind as you get ready to conduct your research study. Right. So no method is perfect, and this one is no different, right? These are just things to plan for upfront rather than troubleshoot on the day of. A couple of practical things worth briefing your participant on beforehand. Keeping, for example, keeping the camera steady and bringing products close enough to read the label properly can make a huge difference to the quality of what you actually end up capturing. Background noise at stores in real environments is a real variable to keep in mind, and it's important to make sure that you brief your moderator and your participant beforehand. The way we structure today's session The way we structured today's session was I asked a few questions before Nimisha walked in to the store, and then we continued the conversation once she was inside. But that's just one way of doing this, right? You can also go fully observational. So that would include letting the participant shop from the moment they enter to the moment they check out, and only speak to them once they're outside or once they've completed their purchase journey, essentially. And that way you get the journey untouched without any sort of interruptions or probes. Or you could also go task based. So that would mean giving them specific tasks to complete, which could include to find a particular product and just watch how they go about doing that without stepping in at all. The format should also follow your research question and not the other way around. So that was the webinar, and I hope you found it interesting and insightful. You can go ahead and use the Q&A feature now to send in any questions that you may have, and I'd be happy to answer those. We'll just wait another 3-4 minutes for questions to come in. Okay, we've got our first question. Is how do you prevent participants from gaming the proof of presence upload? That's a good question. And one way of going about doing this is that you should get as specific in the screener as possible. This step in particular is your best friend. You want to ask participants to upload a receipt, a selfie, or a short video, as I said in the presentation as well. You want them to upload these things from the store, ideally, before they're accepted into the study. So this way you can even ask them to, capture a particular shelf, a product category, or a specific area of the store itself. And by the time they join the session, you already have evidence, right, that they've been there. During the interview itself, a quick camera flip, as you saw in the mock session also that we ran for you guys, that a quick camera flip provides an additional layer of verification that they're in the right environment. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, we have another question. So, can this work for modern trade and general trade both, or is it better suited for one? So I would say that it works for both, but the experience can be quite different. So modern trade gives you, say, a cleaner shelf visibility, right? So better lighting, organized planograms, and it's also easier for the participant, sorry, to navigate on camera. General trade is usually noisier and a little more chaotic, but that chaos is actually part of the insight if you're studying how your product competes in a Kirana environment, right? So that is something to keep in mind as well. Okay. Next question is how many participants do you typically need for a shopper study like this to be meaningful? This is a good question. I think the sample size follows essentially the same principles as any other qualitative study, right? I don't think it necessarily changes in this case, whether it's a shopper research study or not. And so you would probably want to have around 6 to 8 participants. And this is usually enough to identify patterns with a single audience. If you're running larger studies, or like the scale is not so tight and larger in size, then you may require separate groups, right, for different shopper segments or store types. Yeah. Okay. We have another question. What does a good discussion guide look like for an in aisle idea? Right. So I would say the structure is similar to any other sort of good discussion guide that you might come up with, but essentially the sequencing is what changes here. So you want to start with context setting questions, right? While the participant is still moving to their spot or is in the store. And so that this would include questions like what brings them here today, or even how often they shop this category, and then you essentially move into this shelf interaction, right? So which is where you can ask them to flip the camera and walk through whatever they may be seeing. The guide needs to be lighter, I would say, than usual, because you're relying more on what you observe in real time rather than a scripted question flow, right? You want to kind of have it be as in real time as possible. So a lot of the questions will be based on your observations. And you want to leave room to kind of probe what you see, not just what you plan to ask, because these things may change. Yeah, I hope that answers your question as well. I will just wait maybe another minute for any other questions to come in. Okay, I think I'm going to assume that those were all the questions for today. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join today's webinar, and for your thoughtful questions as well, and for sticking around. I hope this webinar has helped you get prepped and ready to go for your next shopper research study. And if you have any questions about the product or any other processes, please feel free to reach out to us. And happy shopper researching, guys.